This portion of the news is brought to you by the new Shell and Let It, designed for extra miles.
This week, a ruling could come down that would change the fate of the largest single construction project in the entire Caribbean. Baha Mar remains stalled as the $3.5 billion project finds itself in a precarious predicament. Tonight, Siaska Adderley talks to a leading accountant on Baha Mar's initial misstep.
Managing partner at HLB Galanis & Co., Philip Galanis, said the first fundamental mistake made by Baha Mar's developer Sarkis Merlium when constructing the $3.5 billion resort is the fact it is a single-phased project. He believed the developers wanted to do too much in one go, which essentially led to the developer running out of money and coming up about $400 million short.
It was critically important for Baha Mar to remain extremely vigilant in terms of costs and also in terms of the completion of the various aspects of the project. I suspect that that was not done in the way or as efficiently as it could have been, because we have since found out that there were about 1,300 change orders. A change order essentially is a change that you make to the project other than over and above what you initially envisage. 1,300 change orders is a tremendous amount of change orders.
Galanis noted that with every change order issued, there comes associated costs, which adds to the project's overall costs. Now that the project is stalled, everyone waits with bated breath on the outcome of Justice Ian Winder's decision on the winding up petition filed by the Attorney General's office on behalf of the government. That ruling is expected on September 4th. And while Galanis didn't agree with the developer's decision to apply for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in U.S. courts, he was hoping for the resort not to end up in liquidation. He called the process the kiss of death.
It really says that we're going to close the company down, we're going to liquidate the assets, we're going to try to find a new buyer for it. That's a much more long, drawn out and arduous process. And so that's essentially where we are. Are we going to move into liquidation? Well, I think we are. I think that's really essentially where we're headed. I believe that the courts are probably going to rule in favor of the government of the Bahamas and the other parties. I think they're going to effectively say that this matter has to be resolved locally, and I think that's the right decision. But I think, unfortunately, a liquidation is going to have tremendous negative impacts on the project and on the tourism industry, on the economy of the Bahamas.
The HLB Galanis & Co. executive doesn't believe the Bahamian Riviera will be up and running anytime soon, but what happens next is critical.
It's going to take probably, I would think, at least a year after it opens to start to see the real benefits, because there's been some jurisdictional fallout. The Bahamas has lost some ground as a result of this. Tourism has lost some ground. There will have to be, no matter what you do, an increased airlift. That has to be arranged to fill the hotel. And then the parties, whoever takes over the project, is going to take a while to understand all of the moving parts.
Galanis hopes an amicable resolution can be reached soon because a lot is dependent upon the completion and opening of the $3.5 billion resort. Siaska Adderley, ZNS Network News.
It's been said the forecast of an economy is gauged based on what's happening in a country's construction and real estate sectors. But as both sectors experience anemic growth, it seems the road to economic recovery is slow. Executives of the Bahamas Contractors Association have been fighting for a number of years to have the industry regulated, but to no avail. BCA's Vice President of Public Relations, Leonard Sands, telling ZNS News the country's construction industry continues to face a myriad of challenges, chief among them the implementation of value-added tax.
The construction industry it's in a lull. It's where it is, and I think that's no surprise to anyone. VAT has, we've noted that it made some impact across the board in all businesses. Construction sector is one of the first to be hit. I mean, let's give you a scenario. You go into the food store, you were spending $100, now you spend $107 and $108. You're building a house for $200,000, 7.5% of that. That's a whole lot more money you got to get qualified at the banks. And so it's caused there to be a constricting of the market.
Unfortunately, San says this scenario has led to an increased number of unemployed contractors in recent times. Overall, the BCA executive says he doesn't believe there will be any major improvements to the sector before year's end, but he remains hopeful that things will begin to turn around, noting that the construction industry is evolving and becoming more dynamic.
The market is feeling the effects. This was a very robust period last year around this time, and for many of our colleagues, we're keeping our heads above water at best, to be fair. I don't see any gains. I don't really see there to be improvements in the workflow for construction until probably about March of next year. So that means we're pretty much just buckling down for the end of the year. So it's going to be recapped as a very slow year, 2015.
And finally, in this portion of the news, more than 100 children received numerous school supplies, courtesy of a joint collaboration of 3 entities, including a church. Kelsey Johnson reports.
Students living in the Fort Charlotte community are ready for another school year thanks to the Fort Charlotte Community Development Association, the Fort Charlotte Urban Renewal Center, and St. Michael's Methodist Church. More than 100 children were given new backpacks filled with all the essentials like books, pens, pencils, and rulers. While the nice haircut and braids might top off their first day look, the blessings from Minister Philip Stubbs set them on a safe path.
Well, we feel God as we come together as a community in support of each other, and I think that's a central part of what it means to experience God. That commandment, love each other even as you love yourself. And we have love in a practical way, not in an empty religious way, but we have love by way of saying to the students who are here during this back-to-school effort, you are important. You are priceless. Your mind is important. And we are here to support you. And so we're saying that to the students from the Chippenham area, from the Fort Charlotte area, first and foremost, that they are important, their minds are important, and the supplies that we give today during this back-to-school effort, those supplies are tools.
No matter your economic or social status, former Minister of Education Alfred Sayers strongly believes that every child living in the country deserves the right to a quality education.
We all came from working class background, and it was the intervention of persons who provided opportunities for us to become upwardly mobile and to continue our education. For the Fort Charlotte Community Development Association, for 12 years, every year we have provided back-to-school program, after-school program, summer camp. So this is a continuation of that work, and I feel privileged to be a part of it.
Police officers attached to the Fort Charlotte Urban Renewal Center are also making the necessary preparations to ensure the safety of the students this school year.
And they have a sense of what the police role is all about, what discipline, care, respect, and trust is all about. And this is what we seek to sensitize the youngsters to positive youth engagement, going into the schools, speaking to them, and telling them about positive discipline things, the value of education, and all of those things. Events like this, in which we have partnership with the Fort Charlotte Development Association and the St. Michael Methodist Church to bring these kids out and to treat them to a back to school where we give out book supplies and treat them to fun and games today. So things like these that Urban Renewal seek to partnership on and seek to bring the community together and seek to empower them to do things like these in the absence of Urban Renewal.
Only thing the children in this community are waiting on now is the school bell. Kelsey Johnson, ZNS Network News.
And that does it for this portion of the news, but don't go anywhere. Sports is up next.